back to Coast. I'm George Norrie. Roger Tolsis, my guest. His website, bugsweeps.com, which is already linked up on coasttocoastam.com. Also, the conference that he is going to attend on July 12th through the 13th is there as well. If you want to take a look at that, that is in Davis, California. Roger, we were talking about who is conducting these things on us. We've always heard about shadow government, a group above government. Could it be them?
Well, think of the amount of money that's involved with this. As I mentioned before, what was the dollar figure on just that one particular energy beam weapon? I think it was $40 million. Yeah, it was $40
million, which is a drop in the bucket for them.
Yeah, I know, but that's just one little toy, right?
Yeah.
Where we left off, and I just wanted to put this in the hopper for consideration as well. This is a document that I got, and this individual said this. He said these weapons, and he's referring to the non-lethal weapons, were recently transferred from the Department of Defense over to the Department of Justice because there are several international treaties that specifically limit or exclude weapons of this nature for being used in international warfare.
That's weird.
Well,
so use them against us, but not in war.
Well, let's tie this in with the law at this time. Title 50, Chapter 32, 1520A says restrictions against human subjects, says they can, with the exception of any law enforcement purpose.
Which could be so vague.
Under the Department of Justice, right?
Right.
Because law enforcement isn't under the military.
Not yet, anyway.
Well, yeah, there is an element of crossover. I've been trying to figure out about this. A wake-up was a wake-up because when you're flying helicopters, attack helicopters, and you're using tanks to destroy a church, that's certainly a wake-up call for America. Though I think most people are still sleeping through that one.
Yeah, that was a tough time for us.
And of course, you might remember during that siege that they were beaming things at him. Some of it was music, some of it was I forget exactly what they were, but they brought power speakers out there, and for days on end they were beaming things at that location. Now, obviously, if they had this monster truck that we were looking at here,
somebody would have seen that.
Well, they certainly weren't worried about tanks, and they weren't worried about helicopters. So why would they be worried about that?
That's true.
But they may have chosen to use that because it would have been, in their view, perhaps more humane than the end result. But that whole thing ended up being a really.
But anyway, your thoughts though on just who might be doing this to us?
Well, I think basically we're talking here about who's developing non-lethal weapons. Where does the money come from, and actually who's in possession?
It could be black ops.
Well, of course. I think that black budgets are financing, and we haven't even discussed at this time satellite tracking using biochips, because that's the next thing that's coming.
Which is what we've got to talk about.
Low-orbiting satellites are going to communicate with the chip in your body, and in every instant you're going to be known in terms of every location that you...
and let me ask you this. Not only will they be able to monitor you, will they also be able to disable you with this chip?
I don't think the capability is there yet, though I have had people that tell me that it is.
Just shut you right down. Let's get him. Let's get Roger Tolsis. Let's get George Norrie. Let's beam it up to the old computer and shut them down. Yeah. Boom.
Yeah, but the frightening thing that I can tell you is I've had people come to me and they've got chips and they don't know how they got them.
What do you mean they don't know how they got them?
They don't know how they got them. They have missing time. They have missing time in either that or they went in for surgery somewhere.
Which makes you wonder about the alien implant situation, whether there's some kind of covert operation that was being done years ago by government and people thought they were aliens. Who knows?
I don't know much about alien implants. All I can tell you is that I have checked some people. I've been able to detect the chips. And in one particular case, the man showed me how they put the chip into his body, which was interesting. Because, now they've got this technology where they use an MRI. As an example, let's say that you have a vein up in your neck that has become clogged. and they're able to go up through they make a little incision in your leg, and they put a stent on a long
catheter,
and they run it up past your heart, and they put it up in your neck, and the only thing that's cut open is this little small area of your vein.
Right.
So this particular individual, one that does have a chip that I have detected, he knows that he ended up having this particular cut and about 8 or 10 hours missing time, and that's how he figures he got his.
Now, who is this kind of individual? I mean, obviously they want to monitor this guy.
Yeah, he definitely did have a clouded background. I really don't want to get too deep into it.
No, I understand. And what do you see as the main purpose for these biochip implants?
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that's linked on the page there is I put the patent that was granted for the GPS tracking bioimplant, and that's United States patent to Gargancho. The link's there for it, and it's called the Personal Tracking Recovery System. Apparatus for tracking and recovering humans utilizes an implantable transceiver incorporating a power supply, and basically this is the patent for the tracking chip.
And it's going to happen. It's happening now. They've experimented. Do you think it'll become law where every newborn baby is going to have to get one?
Well, I think what they're going to do is they're going to sell it to the people saying, hey, we got a lot of people stealing babies.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're going to take care of this. We're going to
know where your baby is immediately.
Know where your baby is at all times, and it's going to be terrific. You're going to love it. And you'll never lose your child.
And that's a pretty darn good inducement for a parent to get this chip.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I would do it. Just thinking about it, I would say, oh, my gosh, yes, got to do this.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the Digital Angel Verichip was some of the first people out of Florida to put this together.
Mm-hmm.
They implanted some people. If you run some keywords, one terrific keyword to run is biotelemetry. If you keyword that into Google,
mm-hmm.
or you put in microarray, there's a company called Gentex that makes a microarray, implantable transponder, neurochips, neuroimplants. These are all keywords that will take you to companies that are working on that. And then, of course, there's also companies that are working on neurointerfaces.
Are they getting government contracts?
I'm sure.
Amazing.
But, the people in the Matrix, you notice that little interconnect that they've got in the back of their head?
Uh-huh.
That's another direction. And I think that's another cell along the way is going to be, once we're able to interface with your brain, we're going to give you the power to do things mentally that you haven't done before.
Absolutely.
And that may be another way it goes. But there is an interesting law here that I wanted to go over, which is pretty interesting. And that is that on these implants, the government put a law on in 1990 called the Safe Medical Devices Act. And it requires USA manufacturers of implants and medical devices to adopt a method for identifying and tracking their product permanently implanted in humans.
Now, were they thinking at the time of like a heart pacer or something like that?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And so what they've done in breast implants and pacemakers and replacement heart valves is now they put chips, and they're microchips, so that you take a scanner and you scan.
Right. Okay.
So they're already,
the ID shows up.
You're already getting chips. And you don't even know it.
You don't even know it.
Yeah, I can imagine that, getting a breast implant, and you got a couple of microchips.
We know where she is.
Well, I'll tell you. Anyway, there also is they're also doing this thing to make chips that will give biotelemetry for people that are not well. The whole idea is you put the chip in, and the chip will then ongoing monitor.
If you got like Alzheimer's disease, you wander away somewhere, they're going to find you.
Well, that also that's already online.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm talking about here is this new version biochip implant, which you can see in the picture there with the tweezers near it, and that goes to the NASA website. What that thing will do is they'll put that in a person. It will monitor that person's bio. All their temperature and their heartbeat and all the rest of these things. And then that would become a downloadable memory so that, let's say you had medical problems, you could go to your medical office once every week and they download it, and it would give them all the charts and information about your bio specifications.
Well, that sounds like a good thing, though. Right.
Well, yeah, very well maybe, and that's another reason people may be getting them is you get sick and you get old. They'll say, well, here's the next thing that you need to do. We need to put this in here, and that becomes an interface for them to have ongoing monitoring. They do that now, with people that have irregular heartbeats. They will put a monitor around their belt that they'll walk around with for a couple of days to try to catch those periods where their heart's skipping, etc.
Yeah.